Hello, my name is Emma Gottlieb. I'm the Technical Sales Manager at Quasar Science and Light Panels, and I'm going to show you how to send multiple inputs through multiple fixtures and then to sort of transition dissolve between those inputs as well. This is going to really level up your production with Assimilate and with pixel mapping, and I hope that you find this useful. So this is a brand new project, and for lack of having any media at the moment, we're just going to generate some filler media. So down here under filler, we're going to generate a black box, we're going to generate a white box, we're going to generate some color bars, maybe a gradient, and a checkerboard. So these are my pieces of media. These are whatever the DP sends me or whatever the gaffer sends me for the day. This can really be anything you want: videos, pictures, input captures, Unreal captures, whatever you want. Um, so we're gonna go through exactly what you can do to send out multiple sources to each fixture and then also to transition between those. So first and foremost, we have a really simple option is we're gonna take 4 of these pieces of media, and I'm just control clicking on these, and we're gonna click wrap here under utilities, and we're gonna click video wall. Now this is a really simple way to get multiple sources out to multiple lights, and we're gonna just label it here video wall so we know exactly what it is. And if you click on one of these individual pieces of media, you just get the one piece of media, right? But if you click on the video wall, now all of a sudden you have 4 pieces of media stacked on top of each other here. So this is really useful with like photos or with low resolution videos, but this can start to really overwhelm your graphics card after a certain point, especially if you have like 4K videos or texture share, Unreal Engine stuff. And it can be a lot of resources for your computer to render out everything around the fixture, including what the fixture is outputting to, right? So this is a really good option if you just want to do some static colors to a few different fixtures, or if you have some low resolution videos. And as you can see, I have 4 Quasar tubes here, and each one of these tubes is outputting what it's over. So this is outputting the gradient, this is outputting the checkerboard, this is outputting our color bars, and this is white. But say you have a lot of media and you want to like transition between it, or you want to like have a little bit more control over what exactly is outputting, right? So we're going to go back to construct, and we're going to take 5 pieces of media now, because this method actually can use up to 10 pieces of media per instance. We're going to click on wrap again, and then we're going to click on switcher. And as you can see, the switcher is just another like dummy piece of media that just gets thrown in here. We're going to call it switcher and label it red. And when you click on the switcher, you get black box, which was the first thing we clicked on right back here. And at a glance, it's almost indistinguishable from the black box. So you may be asking me why exactly would I use the switcher if it just comes up as the black box, and I'm going to show you. So as you can see, if I pull this tab over here and we click on the node tree down here, we can actually see all the nested pieces of media underneath the black box media here. So if we go back to the construct and we click on our original black box and we go to the node tree, you can see that there's nothing nested under this piece of media. It's just the one piece of media. But if we go back to the node switcher, when we created that switcher, we nested all these inputs underneath an output, basically, right? So we have input 0 up here, which all the fixtures default to input 0. And then black box is input 1, white box is input 2, color bars is input 3, gradient is input 4, checkerboard is input 5, and so on and so forth, right? So up to 10 pieces of media. So input 0 up here is whatever input is expressing itself currently. And as you can see, the fixtures show up on input 0, but if you go to input 1 where the black box is, the fixtures don't show up, right? But if I took the first quasar here and I put it on input 1, all of a sudden it's outputting input 1, which is the black box. And if we click on input 2, now it's outputting input 2, which is the white box. If we click on input 3, now it's inputting the rainbows, and you can see it only renders out what's underneath the fixture, right? But if we want to, say, transition between a bunch of pieces of media and have some kind of cross dissolve, or if we want to just like sort of like select which piece of media is expressing itself but not have to drag these pixel maps all over, we're going to right click, and we're just going to pull this back for a second. We're going to right click on the piece of media here, and we're going to click on channel controller. Now the channel controller here basically decides which input is expressing itself in input 0 at the top here. So if we click on input 2, white expresses itself. If we click on input 3, color bars expresses itself. When we click on input 4, gradient expresses itself. Input 5, checkerboard expresses itself, but we're only ever staying in input 0, right? So, and sorry that the media is kind of like catching up after the input click. It only does that when I'm recording my screen, but when that your output to the fixture should just snap to these. I just think this is just an issue with my screen recorder. So we're snapping to these inputs right now, but that's not very good looking, right? What if we want to cross dissolve these inputs? So we go to settings over here, and right here under transition, we can choose what type of transition we want to do. So we can click on dissolve here, and so sorry about this. Again, I think it's an issue with my recording device. And then we can change the duration of the crosscut, basically. And it probably won't express itself great with just showing my screen here, but if I had fixtures plugged in, switching to input 2 would crosscut with the dissolve with that 25 duration on the fixture. It would crosscut to the rainbow, it would crosscut to the gradient, and if you actually had fixtures plugged in and you were doing this, it would dissolve seamlessly. It just doesn't show itself super well on the piece of media here. Yeah, and there's a lot of other options here that I won't super get into at the moment, but I just did this for a project where I was using Assimilate to do a bunch of inputs and sort of like lighting setups for a little community musical in my area, and I used the channel controller with a bunch of different inputs and basically a piece of media for each song that we were doing, and this allowed me to have a little bit more control over what exactly I was cutting to and to make it look a little more professional. Like when I clicked input 5, like all the lights just cross-cut to this, and it just felt like well programmed and everything. There are a few limitations to the channel controller here. For example, the lights will only express themselves if they are set to input 0. So like you couldn't be outputting multiple pieces of media to multiple things and then have them all cross-cut to one thing or whatever. I think that this is a potential avenue for Assimilate to sort of like expand its offerings with the channel controller, but as of right now, that's basically all it's limited to. Another thing that you can do with the switcher node, and I showed you a little bit of this earlier, is you can change each input on each fixture to a different thing, kind of like our video wall. So like we can make this the white, we can make our channel 2 here, we can make that the color bars, channel 3 here, we can make that the gradient, and then channel 4 here, we can make that the checkerboard. And as you can see, this just saves a bunch of resources on your computer, and it's not so different than the switcher node we were doing here, the video wall, but it does sort of like save on resources because now your computer's only rendering what's underneath the fixture. So this is two ways to do multiple outputs, and it's also a way to do transitions between outputs. Like I said, it's still has leaves a lot to be desired, but there's, I'm hoping that there's going to be updates coming for this, and I think that there's a lot of sort of things that Assimilate can do to make this a lot better. But at the moment, it's a lot. It's a good amount of stuff to have, and we're glad to have it.